Why are there so many layoffs in gaming? Here are Cox here, and by the time you hear this, many of the people that made the cookie cutter, paper thin, greedy life service, and ugly woke games that have flooded the game industry, but only a small minority want to play, will be unemployed. What a way to start the video, but it has to be said. Why is it like this? Why are games doing so badly? Why are so many developers getting laid off? Why are so many studios getting shut down? It's all because of corporate greed. And that greed manifests itself as the life service and woke trends. Now, some people may say that I'm wrong about that there are people out there with actual passion for life service games and wokeness. And that's true. But without the corporate conglomerates funding them, live service games would be mobile and woke games would be indie. And they need to be again, but I'll talk about that later. Right now, I want to go through the possible history of games like this. I believe live service games came from a few different kinds of games that by themselves are great, but smashed together cause issues. The first type of game life service games are patterned after are RPGs or role-playing games, like Star Ocean or 2 or Breath of Fire 3. Both of these games are amazing and bursting with content. You start off at level 1 with the worst equipment in the game. As you play, you level up and get in-game currency so you can buy better equipment. You can even get loot drops from enemies sometimes. And when you have enough loot, you can go to an in-game store and buy better equipment, items, and sell old equipment from work in-game currency. Single-player RPGs are amazing because you get to do all the stuff at launch. You have all the weapons, all the armor, all the items, all the characters, the whole world, and the whole story, or at least a good chunk of it, to play around in. But some loser decides to try and monetize these systems. The next type of game live service games are patterned after are MMOs, or massively multiplayer online games. These games are always online, most likely because they run on multiple servers. The worlds of these games are huge, and many people are playing them at once. There are many side quests and main quests and types of characters you can play as. You also have to log into the game to be able to play it. The next type of game the live service game copies is a cheap mobile game. Cheap mobile games are usually 2D and are all about getting cash from you. They can be cute and fun, but you can tell that they are cheap and cheap to make and maintain. Probably talking up only a few gigs on the game servers. The pros of this kind of game are the costs and how that affects the microtransactions. Often games like these are low costing or even free to play. They have microtransactions to make up for that, but they are around $5 each. Of course, they charge for everything. Want a new weapon? $5 please. Want new armor? $5 please. Want a new character? You get the idea. This is annoying, but manageable. But these corporate conglomerates in AAA gaming took all these traits and smashed them together to make what they thought would be an infinite money glitch. The AAA live service game. Now, not all AAA live service games are bad. Fortnite, Destiny, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, and Helldivers 2 are good ones. They show off how AAA live service games can be good. Unfortunately, there are also examples showing how live service games can be bad. Games like Concord, Highguard, Marathon, and everyone's favorite for me to talk about, Suicide Squad and Justice League. This colossal failure of a game in both story and game design ticks me off in ways that aren't the focus of this video. But as for its focus, I want to talk about one more trait of AAA games nowadays that are great by itself, but horrible when used wrong. Consulting companies. Now, consulting companies have their good points. They can help companies make better products, but in this case, they help companies make worse products. I may have said this before, and I'll say it again. When a game studio or a company goes woke, it's not a good thing. But they may change their minds when the cash dwindles. But woke consulting companies like Sweet Baby are paid to corrupt studios. They get their money even if the game fails, and then move on to the next studio. This is why so many games nowadays have the same story. If you can't make your own story, then don't make a game. Anyway, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was the perfect example of how to make a AAA live service game wrong. It was always online like an MMO, but unlike an MMO, it had very little content at launch. One map, 4 characters, one gameplay style, one faction of enemies, and one story. Chopped up over 4 seasons. And each season we got one new character that played just like the others, and one new boss to fight. We may have also gotten a new level every season, and a new member of the Justice League that will decorate the Hall of Justice, but that was about it. It had the microtransactions and simplistic gameplay of the cheap mobile game, but the game is made like a AAA game. WB forced a AAA studio, Rocksteady, to make it, and while that improves the graphics, it lowers the install base for the game. Now you can't play the game on any mobile device. Now you have to play it on something with a good enough graphics card. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League was only playable on 3 systems: the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5, and on PC. Not as many people have these systems, and because of how much AAA games cost to produce, they couldn't make the game free to play. They had to sell it for $70, and that was just for the basic edition. If you wanted to get guns and skins and 3D early access that didn't work, you could pay over $100 for the deluxe edition. And the launch of this game was a disaster. It also had the leveling up, loot drops, and in-game currency and in-game store of RPGs, but it's not for fun. It's for padding. You start off at level 1 and level up as you play and beat enemies, but it's to pad out the game. They eventually had season levels and stuff. Also, the Arkham series was never really about leveling up. It was about finding new ways to get through the game. You started off with a grappling gun and your cape. With these 2 items, you could have Batman shoot his grappling gun up to a building's ledge. Then you can use it to pull Batman up to it or send him higher than it. And while he's in the air, he can spread out his cape and use it to glide downward. There were upgrades you could unlock as you played for these things. The gravity hook could give you a boost up. You could get a glide kick or a glide tackle. Eventually, you'll run into new obstacles, and you need new equipment to deal with them. You'll find something on a ledge that you want to get, like a Riddler trophy, but there's not enough room to climb up to it. That's when you need the Bat Claw. It's similar to the grappling gun, but instead of pulling you up, it pulls things to you. Then there are times you'll find tunnels with things you want at the end of them, but gliding and grappling won't work. Batman will fall into a bottomless pit if he tries that. So you need to get the line launcher. Then you can go from one end of the tunnel to the other. They call this type of gameplay Metroidvania style because it's like a Metroid and Castlevania. You can go through levels multiple times and find new pathways when you have a new equipment. Suicide Squad: Kill the Arkhamverse, it does not have this. They have all equipment in the game. They're all equipment in the in-game stores and unlockable at a slow rate that makes you want to pay to get them faster. They also have Riddler trophies, but these were for padding as well. According to the story, he is angry that he wasn't kidnapped and injected with a neck bomb like the Suicide Squad members you play as were. Now, I know he's dumb, but he's not that dumb. And man, would he have been awesome as a playable character, especially in his mech suit. But, just like with the live service and woke trends, a lot of good ideas weren't used, and a lot of bad ideas were used instead. So now we have a game that acts like a cheap mobile game, but without the install base. A game that is chopped up in seasons and is always online, but doesn't have the content of the MMO. I think most of the Suicide Squad story was given to us at launch, but WB wanted it to be a live service game. That doesn't work with games like this. Sweet Baby is a consultant company that makes statement games. For the record, all woke games are statement games. They say something for a few hours and then end. That's what Suicide Squad did. The game said, I hate the Justice League, and fans of the Arkham series, especially that part of Arkham Knight where Batman draped Harley over his shoulder. Look at this part. Now Harley drapes Batman over her shoulder. Ain't I a stinker when you sure are. Now this game, and many others like it, failed miserably. Turns out, hitting on the core audience of your game series doesn't make much money. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League racked up a $200 million debt. Concord got a $400 million debt. And I'm sure all those other live service and woke games racked up debts too. No wonder so many people are getting laid off now. The trend chasing must stop. Even the live service games that are successful are having trouble now. Overwatch is doing okay, but they have a huge problem. It's called Marvel Rivals. Destiny 2 has had a recent surge in players, but that's only because Bungie has stopped supporting it. They want everyone to play Marathon, Neon Splash Marathon. They basically killed their moneymaker to try and force people to play something inferior. Even Fortnite, with all its skins and weapons and popularity, has had to raise prices and lay off staff. The live service bubble has burst. It's time to move on. Single-player offline games are the most profitable nowadays. Crimson Desert has had over 5 million players. Warhammer Space Marine 2 had over 2 million. That's where the money is. Not yet another greedy live service game. The market's oversaturated. The people want something different. It's time to tell your AAA and AA dev teams to make single-player offline games again. Your indie teams can work with woke consulting companies to make woke games, and your mobile game teams can be the ones to make cheap live service games. That way, your woke and live service games are funded by actually good ones. If you want to stay the course, instead, you can do it. You can enjoy more layoffs and studio closures. I'm your webcomics. Check me out on YouTube and DeviantArt. Also, to show off how chasing trends can ruin your game and or studio, Suicide Squad Kill the White Man and his friends took almost 10 years to make. And the idea for focusing on the Suicide Squad most likely came from the fact that the silly Suicide Squad movies were coming out then. So, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League started off as a movie tie-in game. I really wish WB had found a no-name studio to make it instead of Rocksteady. Then it might have stayed that way.